And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week. The 2019 World Series is history, and you know it's a darn good thing that you watch this thing every Saturday morning, because last week I said, after Washington had taken 2 on the road, that it really was pretty well over, because I knew that what was going to happen was that they'd go back to Washington, the Astros would take all 3 games there, they'd return to Houston, and the Nats would sweep there. Had it all down pat. If you're buying that, I got some oceanfront property in Kansas for you. This is really a remarkable story for the Washington Nationals, who started the season 19-31, went on to take a wild card spot in the playoffs, then won 5 series decision games coming from behind, and finally, for the first time in sports history, win a 7-game series entirely on the road. Really remarkable, great team, a lot of fun, epic World Series. And a special shout out to my friend Randy Whitaker, the general manager of the Harrisburg Senators, whose nurturing and player development put 9 folks on that Washington Nationals championship roster. Congratulations to all of them. And now all you have to do is listen to a little basketball, football, and some occasional hockey from me until pitchers and catchers report on St. Valentine's Day, just about 100 days from now. Something to look forward to. Back to politics. This week, of course, we had an impeachment vote in the House of Representatives. Not the first one, by the way, but a process vote. If you want commentary on this, I don't think you need to go too much further than Nancy Pelosi's own words, when a couple of months ago she said that for impeachment to work, it must be a bipartisan process. Not a single Republican vote on Thursday. In fact, Pelosi lost a couple of members of her own caucus who voted no, and several others who said that although they were voting to move forward, they weren't really yes votes for impeachment yet. Maybe that explains why she hasn't had a vote up until now. And the rules have been trampled all over. The real question is, when does this finally get to the Judiciary Committee? It's been yanked out of the Judiciary Committee pretty clearly because Nancy Pelosi doesn't trust Jerry Nadler to run things properly, and if she doesn't trust Nadler, why should the rest of us? She's got it over in the House Oversight Committee. Collins, the Republican chair of the Judiciary Committee, says that if it does come back there, he's going to subpoena Adam Schiff. That would be when things really get interesting. In the meantime, this is purely partisan. Again, the vote along straight party lines, except the one element of bipartisanship being some Democrats that voted no. And it remains very clear that it is not a fair process. That ultimately is damning to the whole thing. Unless something very, very, very unusual happens, all of this ends with Donald Trump still in office. Whether the Democrats can stretch it far enough into 2020 to have an impact on that remains to be seen. But one thing that is clear is the economy continues to chug upward. In October, the markets were all up. Just imagine if we didn't have these trade war problems, where it would be right now. Standard & Poor's hitting all-time highs several times during the month of October. The Dow hovering near its all-time highs. The third quarter earnings way up. Third quarter growth stronger than expected. Consumerism, which is driving the economy right now, all on the uptick. It only looks to go up from now, despite the fact that worldwide things aren't going so well. We are in effect an outlier in all of that. And with the Fed doing what they did this week, things continue to look good for economic growth. The one thing that really will power next year's election. And of course, foreign affairs still matter. And last weekend, President Trump ordered U.S. forces to take out al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, the world's most notorious and heinous criminal, a rapist, murderer, and simply inhumane person. And the U.S. Army Rangers and Delta forces that took him out operated under a very interesting code name. Most Americans have heard of Robert Mueller. Not so many have heard of Kayla Mueller, a woman, young American, who was tortured, raped, and ultimately murdered by al-Baghdadi. They ran the operation in her name and took out, again, one of the world's most notorious thugs. And if you think there's no media bias, what does the Washington Post say? They call him an austere religious scholar. Oh, I know, they changed the headline a couple of times. In fact, one of them was almost as bad. But that kind of stuff is so preposterous, it's hard to even believe. But don't believe the Post. Don't believe the Times. Just listen to us, because for now, that is the best 60-ish seconds of your week.